Everything is woke. I kind of agree. Woke is currently a really sadly popular thing.
Watch the whole Act Man Andy Pants. Most is inconsequential.
But this part is very relevant.
I never have watched this. I have no idea what even happened here.
I have also not seen this. I have heard about it, but I have heard that it's incredibly boring because what the hell do you honestly want from the Act Man?
I think it's incredibly strange to talk about Concord and not told you I think it's incredibly strange to talk about Concord and not mention the clear woke slop. And you make fun of people who use the word woke, and you never use the word, even though it completely describes what's going on right now in gay games.
So the thing about the word woke is it harkens back to that old story we all read and were taught when we were growing up, The Boy Who Cried Wolf. These days, it's The Boy Who Cried Woke. There is...
That analogy would imply that woke is not a real thing. Woke is a real thing. Now, you can argue how much we can define it because, well, it's most of us understand what woke means, but if I would give my definition, it would be different from your definition, and we would not all have even closely the same thing. We would be in the same direction, but it would depend on each person individually.
So much disingenuous criticism using the word woke. The word is so liberally applied to every...
This is why we banned it on the subreddit, by the way, for a while.
Okay, if you want a more all-encompassing definition for woke, I kind of have one, but people are probably not going to agree. But I would, in this case at least, say that woke is something that specifically liberals push on different kind of products, media, games, where they ignore the primary aspect of the thing that they are trying to make, and they aggressively insert a progressive concept or ideal in it just for the sake of it. It has nothing to do with the game, the product, the anything. They just put it in there because they want to. They feel that it's right. I would say that that's kind of woke. Now again, how much people agree with this? It's a very broad definition. That's not even my honest personal definition of woke, but that's kind of the broadest I would say that woke could be defined as.
Is because people use the word woke the same as they use the word like racist or like a few other things, where it's like, this is like basically it's like a filler word because I don't know how to actually define what the problem.
Well, no, it's not a filler word. When you say woke, people understand what it's most likely going to be. When people call someone racist, oh, it's because that's a black singer and you did not like their performance, oh, you must be racist. No, that's complete bullshit, and everyone absolutely knows and understands that. That's not even racism. But when people call something woke, it's because of a specific reason. And most likely it's true. Again, I have people call a lot of things randomly woke. That's true. But that is the minority. Most people do actually call woke things that I agree with that are woke, and typically don't call just random things woke for no reason.
Problem is, so I'm just going to use like this bucket word that somehow is going to apply. DEI is the new woke? Yeah, DEI is, yeah, exactly.
Thing.
I think people use DEI pretty correctly, honestly, because DEI is pretty much the term for when a company starts hiring people because of their skin colors and whatnot, because that's pretty much what it is. Also, DEI does have an overlap with woke, so, you know, they're kind of the same, but they're not really the same.
Because there's so many...
two races in video games. There's white and woke.
Online grifters who produce daily outrage.
No, not even close. There have been so many games where the main character is a woman, a black dude, or whatever. But it has not been a problem. Typically, in games, typically when we call something woke is when we know that thing is just made exclusively for the reason that it's a woman, and its only reason to exist is because it's a woman, or it's, you know, some kind of crippled Indian dude. And we know that they're in the game only because they want representation, some kind of magical representation that no one else wants. That is woke.
Content that are saying this thing is woke, this thing is woke, you should be angry, you should be upset. Tune in tomorrow for episode 4169 on why Star Wars is woke now and why you should hate it and be mad and angry and upset.
Yeah.
Well, Star Wars is woke and incredibly shit. Now, I have said this before, but I think you can make a relatively woke show. Relatively, not fully woke, but a show that's actually good. But woke kind of ruins it, you know? And I'm using woke in this term as in a lot of, you know, progressive futuristic ideas or whatever. You can make a show like that and it's good, but they typically all suck because the people with these kind of agendas are morons.
There's so much of that going on that the ending of the story of The Boy Who Cried Wolf is that at the end there was a wolf out there, but because there were so many false claims of there being a wolf, the people didn't help him. So that's what's happening.
That's actually not the story. That's not the story. The story is there was a boy who cried wolf, and well, you know, he just wanted attention through lying. So he ran through the village and said, "Wolf, wolf, wolf! There's a wolf!" Blah blah blah. And there was no wolf, but the villagers the first 3 times believed, but then in the 4th time where there actually was a wolf, no one believed him, and it was over.
With the word woke. When I hear somebody, so
I think that Actman's bringing up a really good point here, and I think the best example of that point is that a lot of people have labeled games like Space Marine 2 as woke because it has I guess like a female commander in it, and I feel like that's not really what's happening, and a lot of people, well, sorry.
This is the part where these people like Asmongold and Actman almost have a point, okay? And the almost point that they're bringing up here is that they are over-exaggerating the claims. Overall, it's really hard to find people who think that Space Marine 2 is overall woke. Now, but the fact that there's like this rando Indian woman who's a badass, blah blah blah. Yeah, that is not because that can happen in the lore. That does not exist because it can happen in the lore. That exists because someone wanted to put that inclusivity and diversity in. That is the reality. It exists because of that. Now, can it work? Yes, and it does work, and it's technically not a big deal even. But the most likely outcome behind that decision was woke/DEI influences. The game is not woke, but it definitely has a woke/DEI influence in that part of it. And this is what the people like the Actman, who, you know, have 15 colored dildos right next to them off camera. This is what these people are going to say. Oh, they even called Space Marine woke. No, they called a slight small part like this woke. That's it. Not the whole game, but this small part, and most likely they are right. Most likely they are absolutely right. That part most likely exists only exclusively because it's woke.
Right, that's actually not true. A lot of people is inaccurate. You're correct in correcting me on that. There is like a list of like what games are woke and what games are not woke, and I think Elden Ring and Space Marine 2 were put on that list. So when you paint with such a broad brush that
I have not seen that list.
Almost anything could be, if you interpret it in this way, could be perceived as woke, you end up devaluing the word. No, I'm being serious, right? Baldur's Gate 3 too? Well, I could see Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 makes a lot more sense that it's woke because you can engage in homosexual relationships. You can, I think they have pronouns in the game. You can change a character's genitalia with like not having them have a different body. I feel like Baldur's Gate 3, like you...
Well, I just Googled, is Elden Ring woke? I find one Reddit thread, which is... I'm not clicking on that. And there's 1, 2, 3 things that are 3 videos I could currently see in total that are calling Elden Ring woke. And I'm seeing one more video that's talking about Elden Ring and about the publisher being woke with the localization. And I don't know, that's maybe true. Maybe that is the woke part, because localization is woke, as we know from anime, because there's a lot of localizers who are, well, literally political pundits, and they are changing things, not translating, but changing things for modern Western audiences. They completely are changing the meaning of sentences and things like that. So if that's what's surrounding Elden Ring, maybe that's actually true.
You could make an argument that, like, yeah, sure, this is a woke type thing, right? It's just that people don't care because it seems like it's an authentic product. And so I think that what happened is that people are trying to, like, identify every instance of something being woke. But I think that if you retroactively apply this to a lot of other games, you would see other games in the past that have also had this issue as well, right? So, like, for example, with like Space Marine 2, you could also say, like, Gears of War, right, would also be woke because of Coltrane and Dom, right? So that seems like kind of a bad argument, a bad
I don't remember Gears of War enough to actually comment about that.
way to look at it. So the problem is that I think that people have started using the term woke for too many different things. Or Halo, right? Yeah, exactly. Like, oh wow, you know, Master Chief has a woman that knows everything, that tells him what to do, and, you know, Sergeant Johnson's like this black.
Yeah. Halo, a woman telling everything that Hey, if Master Chief suddenly becomes a moron and a woman needs to guide him because she knows better, yeah, that's probably a woke influence. That's probably 100% a woke thing, and it exists because of a woke thing.
That guy, and, like, you know, he tells everybody else what to do, right? If you want to look at everything through that lens,
I don't think anyone has complained about the Sergeant being black in Halo, though. Again, again, you see why these examples fucking suck? Because there are small things that people call woke and non-woke potentially games, and then you're like, oh, but look at this character, they're also a fair, disgusting, ugly woman. Yeah, but she's not woke. Borderlands, the fat mechanic chick. No one's really calling that woke. Even though, you know, it kind of, when you don't know what I'm talking about, that probably does sound like a woke concept, but no one's really calling it woke.
it's like if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I do think Actman's bringing up a good point that...
Shut the fuck up. You can't even lift the hammer. Look at those chicken arms.
If everything is woke, then nothing is. And I think that the problem is that Concord, which is, like, in my opinion, definitely a woke game, like 100%.
Yeah.
Is that if you don't figure out a way to, like, grade this or to have any sort of, like, measured criticism, you can't say Concord is as woke as Space Marine 2, right? Like, this is, it's
Nope.
like, it's beyond retarded. So that's a huge issue. And I think it's making it hard for people that are, like, against this kind of stuff to be taken seriously, because they're doing things that are unserious. If you accept everything, you stand for nothing.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
Well, yeah, but, like, this is like the opposite. Like, if you don't stand for anything, then all you're doing is laying down, you're doing nothing. So it's like you have to be measured in your criticism and your...
And he lost me.
Feedback.
It's what happened to the words racist and sexist a few years ago.
He's right.
People
That's
were
exactly
saying,
what I
like,
said.
air conditioning sexist, and
Yes.
you know,
Right.
all this.
Well, they're still saying that.
Which,
stupid
by
shit.
the way, that was a real title. That was a legitimate thing. Women were saying that air conditioning was sexist.
I also think they kind of magically got the air conditioning sexist against blacks also. Smoke alarms are sexist against blacks. We know that much.
It is racist and sexist, and it destroyed the meaning that those words are supposed to have.
He's right.
The boy who cried racist. The boy
Nazi is the worst one.
That's my favorite
I think
one.
Nazi and slavery are two of the worst ones that are used now, because people
Slavery, that's news to me.
use, like, for example, I'm working at a job that doesn't treat me well as slavery, and, like, they don't, like, it's
Yep, not heard that one.
just, I think it downplays, like, we have real slavery, right? Like, now we have real slavery. It's
Yeah, look at Africa.
not in the US. Like, and by the way, if you are trying, like, if there's like 3 smart Redditors in chat that are like, well, what about prisons? Nothing like slavery. Nothing like actual slavery. If you think that, you're a retard, read a book. Anyway, just look it up on Wikipedia. It'll take you
I mean, the irony of someone who has never read the book.
5 seconds to learn that you're stupid.
But
So
he's right.
if you compare that to like what's happening in like, you know, Africa, etc., that is actual slavery in some cases, right? It is really bad.
He needed such a build up to get the balls to actually say just Africa instantaneously. That's so funny.
And so people that compare those two things, I think, are being like very, very disingenuous, and they're like hijacking the emotional baggage of a word to make their own argument or their
Why is everyone wearing a blackish shirt? What's wrong with the red shirt?
own feelings more important. And I think Nazi is the same thing. Like the amount of times that I hear people being called Nazis because they don't want open borders, or
The people who say that are pretty much woke liberals. It does make sense.
they're like Donald Trump fans, is way too much.
Boy Who Cried Sexist, The Boy Who Cried Woke. These
Yeah.
are 3 books in a volume. Okay.
He's right.
That
Dude,
all have the
so-
same ending.
Dude, so it's I mean, you're a video game critic and you do video game analysis, so I find it shocking that
Oh, that's such a missed opportunity. He could have went on. He could have attacked him, and I say attack because a debate is a battle. Shut the fuck up. He could have brought up the fact that they're not the same. That comparing people who are calling woke things woke and comparing to people who call everyone a Nazi or racist or whatever is completely different. Because the reason the word Nazis and that lost their power is because exactly as he's saying, because they got just spread on literally everywhere it sticked. Liberals called other liberals Nazis when they were not the primary victim and someone took over their role. It was pretty funny. But the word woke has sticked for now. It's been years. The word woke since its inception, it has been a couple of years now. And it's just growing stronger. And it's not losing its power. And that is because it is maybe not used uniformly, but it is used pretty much on point to describe certain things, even if we don't have a concrete definition for it.
you don't see the pattern in a game like Concord having 3 black females in it and not a single white man.
Oh, it did have a white guy in it, but
The most generic white guy, which was hilarious.
I think the problem is that a lot of the people that have discussions about this topic have, like, they've already made up their mind about it, and they're looking at it from a one-dimensional perspective. And I think that's what happens with people that are, like, super
Oh, shut the fuck up. You don't even know what a one-dimensional perspective is.
anti and super pro this type of, like, inclusion, because they're not really looking at it. Both of these extremes trend to the perspective of, I am basing my opinion on things off of something that is not happening, basically, right? Exactly what happened.
Oh yeah, this is just classic Asmongold of watering down everything to the lowest denominator, where it kinda applies, but it doesn't really mean anything. I like it. Well, I guess that's the video, because I can't imagine he's gonna actually go in depth and explain anything. Well, more than this, I guess. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye!